My name is Hannah. Okay, and then where's the present button? All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our group for us. So my name is Hannah McDermott. This is Kate Light, Rachael DePrinzio, and Kristina Webster, and we are four student physical therapists from the George Washington University. Today we're going to be giving you all a presentation on maintaining muscle mass and muscle strength and why you should do that and how you should do that. Before we get started, I'm just going to kick us off with a little story that's very close to my heart. So back when the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic began, every week I would call and talk to my grandmother, who has been historically a very physically active person. And one of her main complaints was she no longer was able to go to the gym and do those physical activity and strengthening exercises she used to do. And she said she immediately started to feel the impact it had in her daily life and those physical activity things she used to do, like walking, and then also just her day-to-day activity. So with that being said, I'm sure many of you have probably felt that way in the past, either due to the COVID-19 pandemic and not being able to do the things we used to love to do, or just in general. So before we get started, I would love to see a raise of hand of anyone who likes to do any sort of physical activity, like walking or walking your dog, or even doing things like painting and stuff like that. Going through, I see all of you guys are raising your hand, which is absolutely awesome to hear. All right, so before we get started, I'm just going to introduce what we're going to be talking about today. So today we're going to be talking about the benefits of physical activity and doing strengthening exercises and its effects on our body. Then we're going to talk about how we're going to remain safe during exercise. Then we're going to demonstrate to you all a brief exercise routine that you should be able to complete in about 15 minutes or so that can help you build and maintain that muscle mass and strength. Then we're going to talk about what you can expect to feel after the exercise routine, and then we'll have some time for questions. So we're going to ask you all, if you feel comfortable, you can turn on your cameras and participate with us just so you can practice before you could do it at home. And then I'll be watching and have some critiques if I can see any ways that you can all improve, and then if anyone has any questions and stuff about that. All right, so to talk about why this matters. So muscle mass and muscle strength operates under the use it or lose it mentality. So like many other skills, like either riding a bike or playing the piano, anything like that, you have to use that skill or you could lose it. With muscle strength and muscle mass specifically, after the age of 60, there is a 10% loss in peak muscle strength every decade. And this is way more pronounced. So it's going to be a lot more if you are not physically active. So if you're not doing those strengthening activities, it can be even more so. We're going to be talking about terms muscle mass and muscle strength. And I just wanted to clarify what that means so you all understand what we're talking about. So muscle strength is your physical ability to pick up like strengthening exercises. So the more you're able to lift, that's more muscle strength, that sort of thing. The muscle mass is going to be the actual size of the muscle. And those are directly correlated. So if you want to maintain peak muscle strength, you also want to make sure you maintain that muscle mass. All right, and before we jump into our exercise routine that we're going to be demonstrating to you all, I just want to reiterate that your safety is the absolute most important thing to us. So please do not do anything you feel uncomfortable doing. Make sure you do your exercises in a clear environment where you have lots of room to move around. Make sure that you are drinking water before, during, and after you exercise. And then also, if you feel like you need to use a stable device, like either the table in front of you or a chair to maintain your balance, you can also do so. We're going to be demonstrating all of our exercises that we have in both sitting and standing. So feel free to join in however you would like. All right, so before Kristina over here on the right is going to show you the exercise routine, you're going to be doing all these exercises 2 times for 30 seconds each. We're just going to show you briefly how to do them, and you can join in if you would like. But so yeah, Kristina's go ahead, and she's going to take it over from here.
All right, great. So we are going to start with our warm-up, and we're going to have 2 demonstrators here. Rachel is going to demonstrate for anyone that chooses the standing position, and then Kate is going to demonstrate for anyone that chooses to be seated. So the first thing we're going to do, I'll start with Kate. So if you would like to be seated for your warm-up, you're going to start by marching your legs up and down, just like that. And then we're going to add in an arm component and swing your arms out and in. There we go. And that is going to get our blood flowing, our muscles working. And then if you choose to be standing, you're going to follow Rachel. She's going to start by stepping side to side. And then she's going to start swinging her arms as well. And like Hannah said, when you're doing this at home, we're going to be doing this for 2 sets of 30 seconds to warm up. And then we're going to start our first exercise, which is arm circles. So it's the same in sitting or standing. We're going to have our arms straight out to the side. And we're going to start by doing some arm circles forwards and mini circles. And you're just going to keep them up like that. And this is a great exercise to maintain any upper arm strength, shoulder strength, for things like reaching up into cabinets, for reaching into a closet, for cooking, anything like that. This is a great one to do for that. And you will also switch and go backwards halfway through. Awesome. And you guys are looking great up there, who I can see. All right, got that one. So then our next one we're going to be doing is going to be a sit to stand for anyone that is comfortable standing up. And how we're going to do that is we're going to start seated in our chair, scoot forward a little bit, feet flat on the ground, and you're just going to stand on up and then slowly lower back down. So that one is the standing version. And then if you want to do a modified version in seated, we're going to kick one leg straight out like this, and then slowly lower it down, and then alternate and switch sides, kick out and slowly lower down. And these ones are great for working your leg muscles, for getting up out of a chair, anything like that. This is a great one for that. And then the next one we have for you is a calf raise. So very similar in seated or standing. What you're gonna do is if you're sitting, scoot forward a little bit in your chair. You're going to come up onto your tippy toes and then slowly lower back down, and come up onto your tippy toes, slowly lower back down. If you choose to stand, you can of course hold on to the wall, a chair for some balance, if that will help you at all. And then this one is great if you're walking around. It's going to strengthen the back of your legs. And then the last one we have for you today is a full body core exercise. So what we're going to be doing is reach one arm out to the side, just like that. And then you are going to bring it to your opposite knee and crunch all the way over like that. Good. And then you're going to switch sides and do the other one, bring it to the opposite knee. And then you'll just continue that pattern. And this one is great for the core, for the whole body. This is a good one for sitting balance, standing balance. This is a great one to do all the time. So those are all of our exercises that we have for you. We have it in a printout that you guys will all be getting. So hopefully you can jump into those. And I'm going to hand it over to Rachel, who is going to talk to you a little bit about muscle soreness.
All right, so now that we've gone through our exercise program, we just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some potential side effects that may occur after strength training. One of those being DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness. So this is the feeling of tenderness or achiness in your muscles that can happen 1 to 2 days after you exercise. And this is a completely normal response to exercise. It's just your body's way of telling you that it's healing and recovering from what you've been doing. And it can be exaggerated if you're working out muscles that you don't typically use very often. Again, this is a completely normal response to exercise. Some of you may experience it, some of you may not, and that's completely okay. If it lasts longer than 3 days, however, that means that you may have had a negative reaction to the exercise, or you could have potentially injured a muscle. And in that case, we suggest reaching out to your primary care provider, your physical therapist, any sort of medical provider that can do further examination.
So now we're going to do a brief review and we're going to reflect on what you learned today. So there are 3 questions we're going to ask, and feel free to either shout out the answer or put it in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. So the first question we have is, which of the following are some potential benefits of maintaining muscle mass? So for A, we have staying mobile. For B, we have getting to move around the community. For C, we have having fun moving around with friends and family. And D, we have all of the above. So
Awesome.
great.
Good job.
Yes, all of those are super important. So the next question we have is, DOMS is which of the following? A, completely normal. B, a medical emergency. C, abnormal. Or D, unhealthy.
A.
Great. You all got
Awesome.
that.
Wow.
Completely normal. Okay. And then our last question is, you should eat an exercise you feel unsafe doing. So is that true or false?
True. A.
So good.
Awesome.
All right, so now just to summarize everything that we've talked about today, remember that use it or lose it principle. So if you're not using your muscle mass that you have, you're more likely going to lose it over time. So it's really important that we're moving and doing strength training to maintain our muscle mass and our muscle strength, just so that we can continue to do the activities that we like to do. We also talked about how muscle soreness is completely normal after exercise. And then last but not least, we want to make sure you're always staying safe when doing physical activity.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We now have time if anyone has any questions about anything we talked about. One thing we did forget to mention when doing this exercise routine, if any of the exercises feel too easy, now or over time while doing them, you are more than welcome to add either weights, like actual weights you have in the gym, or you can hold cans or water bottles, anything like that, to make it a little bit more difficult. So if anyone has any questions, we would love to answer them.
I have a question. Do you recommend doing the routines every day, or should you skip a day in between? I've heard that when you are trying to build muscle, you should not do your routine every day.
Yeah, so we suggest starting out doing this probably 3 or 4 times a week with a day or 2 of rest in between. Just like you said, if you're doing too much strengthening at once, you can end up hurting yourself and getting too sore. So yes, that's definitely along the right track.
Thank you.
And how much muscle can you build?
So it really depends person to person. Depending on your activity levels now, it really depends on how intense of an exercise you're doing, and then how long you do them for. But depending on, like I said, the intensity of the exercise and what you're eating, if you're getting proper like nutrients and protein and stuff like that, you can build some significant muscle mass. But this is more so just to really maintain that muscle mass, so you keep that strength up versus really putting some muscle on. If you wanted some suggestions on that, we could always send some of that information over, but.
Yeah, so this is maintaining what you have. Can you build from it?
Yeah, so the way that, we didn't really touch on this in this presentation, but the ways that muscles work, to build muscle, there's this thing called the overload principle. So essentially you have to work your muscles harder than they typically work. So if you were interested in really gaining that muscle mass, then we would suggest when the exercises start feeling easier, that's when you would definitely want to either do them for longer periods of time or add some weight onto it.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a great question.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any more questions?
I have a question, but it's related to nutrition. And so I'll just ask and you can tell me if it's beyond what you want to go into. I read recently that for people over 60, in order to maintain muscle mass, you need to consume, I think it was 25 grams of protein at each meal during the day, which is quite a lot, especially for breakfast. Do you have anything to say about that? Are you familiar with that, or do you think that's?
Yeah, so as physical therapists, we get physical therapy students, we get minimal training in nutrition. So we know a little bit about nutrition and how much you should be intaking. So we're not super familiar off the top of our heads exactly how much protein you should be intaking. But we could always reach out to a professor or something like that. Do any of you guys have anything?
Yeah, so in terms of protein consumption, again, like Hannah said, we don't learn specific numbers that you should be getting at each meal, but muscles are made up of protein. So it's important that you're eating protein throughout the day. It's going to vary based on each person and your specific body makeup. So it'll vary, but making sure that you are eating protein at each meal, whether I don't have a specific amount for you, but that is really important that you are consuming protein.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to add that on April 12th, we're going to have a physical therapist do a program, and she's going to cover nutrition and muscle mass.
That's
so
awesome.
if you're interested, come to our program on April 12th.
Thank you.
Nadia beat me to it. I'm going to put that in the post-event email as well, but definitely sign up for our April 12th program, also a Tuesday program. Does anyone else have any last thoughts or questions? Well, I want to thank you very much then. And if you could forward the materials you wanted to share to Nadia or myself, just so I can put them in the post-event email as well. You might have already done that, but I might have misplaced them. So if you could share those again, so I can share them out with the group as well, that would be great.
Yes,
but thank you very much for coming today, and I hope people join us for our last set of PT Shorts next week and for our April 12th more intensive hour-long program.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was very helpful. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.